This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Well, good evening, Britain. It's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and tonight, it's the biggest story that no other broadcaster will tell you the truth about. Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick has written to the Prime Minister in defiance of what he calls a public endorsement of a man with disgusting extremist views. The controversial activist, Alaa Abd El Fattah, has been welcomed to the UK after his travel ban from Egypt was lifted. We'll have Robert Jenrick joining me shortly.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed.
The United States President Donald Trump has celebrated Christmas Day with a precision airstrike on Islamic State in Nigeria. It comes as thousands of Christians were slaughtered on Christmas Day. The US president claims he's protecting innocent Christians. Plus,
the Prime Minister might call this an island of strangers. When Farage says jump, Labour might say how high.
Are we going to have a coalition of chaos? Will the Labour Party have to resort to a coalition with Zach Palansky's Green Party to save their premiership? Also,
the Brexit vote was a fair, democratic expression, and I will always respect that.
Well, not so long ago, our Prime Minister claimed to respect the Brexit vote. So why, 6 years later, is he constantly bowing to the EU's needs? Well, one guest thinks we're about to get the worst deal possible. Also,
my message to resident doctors is don't abandon patients, work with us to improve conditions and rebuild the NHS.
well, as the Prime Minister pledges to rebuild the NHS, I'll be telling you why and how GPs are being offered over £130,000 a year to care for illegal migrants awaiting deportation. And on my panel tonight is Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective, Lara Brown, the commissioning editor at The Spectator, and Nigel Nelson, GBNews' senior political commentator. And what do you think is going on here?
Every time you buy a coffee, you are finding a bullet. That is killing a Palestinian kid. If you are a Muslim buying Starbucks, shame on you, and Allah is coming for you.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'll be bringing you that bombshell story about Alaa Abdel Fattah at 10 o'clock here with Robert Jenrick. So stay tuned. Trust me, it's going to be like nothing we've done here on this show before. But first of all, let's talk about another big story that developed over Christmas, because Donald Trump has unleashed a missile Christmas present to jihadi Islamists in Nigeria. All over Christmas, the holiest day in the Christian calendar, radical Islamists linked to ISIS launched a brutal attack across northwest Nigeria, targeting innocent Christians with savage violence. Villages were burned, families slaughtered, and churches were desecrated in a wave of jihadist terror that has plagued the region for years.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed.
Well, the Nigerian government, well, despite multiple promises, has failed time and again to protect its Christian citizens from this relentless onslaught by these jihadis. But President Donald J. Trump refused to stand by. On Christmas Day itself, he ordered powerful US airstrikes, precision Tomahawk missiles from a Navy warship, decimating Islamic State camps in the Sokoto state. He deliberately timed the strikes for Christmas, calling it a Christmas present to the terrorists, sending an unmistakable message. The slaughter of Christians must end now. Multiple senior ISIS commanders and fighters were allegedly eliminated, camps obliterated, and crucially, no civilian casualties. Perfect American strikes as only our, well, their, should I say, military could deliver. Trump is the only world leader with the spine and courage to act, it seems. Starmer, Macron, and the EU elites have all been silent, too busy appeasing Gaza protesters and importing chaos into our own countries to confront anything like that anywhere else abroad. But Donald Trump, he warned for months. He said, stop the killing of Christians or face America's wrath. He and his country gain nothing from this. There's no oil contracts. There's no trade favours, no pats on the back from the globalist club, is there? This is pure, selfless nobility, a fearless stand to defend persecuted Christians and halt the poisonous spread of Islamism across Africa and beyond. He could have issued more empty statements like the weak leaders before him and the weak leaders that surround us in the EU. Instead, he became the shield for the Christian faithful, the avenger against barbarism. Supporters rightly call it the ultimate Christmas gift to Christians worldwide, a resounding blow for good over evil. And Trump has that iron resolve, doesn't he, that we're all screaming out for here in Britain, unafraid to name radical Islamic terrorism, unafraid to crush it, and putting faith and civilization first. Islamism is a cancer. It spreads unless confronted and destroyed decisively. Well, I say Merry Christmas. Thank God for Donald Trump, and Merry Christmas also to those Nigerian jihadists. Let me get the thoughts of my panel on this topic. Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective, Lara Brown, commissioning editor at The Spectator, and Nigel Nelson, GB News' senior political commentator. Welcome, everybody. Merry Christmas. I haven't seen you all. Thank you very much. Peter, I'll start with you. I think this is absolutely glorious, what he's done. And it's very selfless to have done it. We see these interventions from America often around the world, but usually there's something to gain for them. This time there's been nothing.
There is a problem with radical Muslims and Islamist fanatics around the world. Tragically, we've seen it only too recently. Bondi Beach in Australia, synagogue in Manchester, and other examples. It is a threat to Western civilization, the values that we live by, the rules that we have, the way we get along. And therefore, it has to be tackled. It has to be tackled wherever it raises its vile and ugly head. And if the President of the United States sees fit to launch an attack in Nigeria, I, for one, am not going to criticise that.
I certainly agree. Lara, what do you make of the attack? I personally think it's welcome when America intervenes when innocent people are being slaughtered without anything to gain for itself. This is the kind of foreign policy I can actually get behind. This is the kind of interventionism I can get behind.
I have to confess, I struggle to call any airstrike that will kill people glorious or welcome.
Even terrorists?
Nigeria is an extremely unstable region. We're looking at tens of thousands of people every year killed as a result of ethnic and religious violence. There are definitely Islamic State terrorist cells that are erupting in Nigeria. But the problem with this strike is that Trump has spent around 2 years trying to get the Nigerian government to acknowledge this and take it on. And I'm nervous that by suddenly on Christmas Day striking, in a strike that probably has killed innocent people, it will have hopefully got militants as well, it's going to push the Nigerian government away from solving things. And as Tony Blair learned and we learned over the course of a decade, when you take out ISIS strongholds, you have to know what comes next. And this doesn't feel like a well-thought-through, strategised approach where once you create that vacuum and you stir up the population, we know how we then protect people.
My issue is, Nigel, that this slaughtering of Christians has been going on for a very long time. There are quite stark figures. I'll just bring them up here for you in just a second. But hundreds of thousands of Christians being killed over the last decade.
Those figures are disputed by the Nigerian government.
Well, the Africa Centre for Strategic Studies...
Those are the ones which are disputed.
Yeah, well, they say reports of 22,000 fatalities. There are claims over 7,000 Christians in Nigeria. Lots of different reports, of course, from different organisations, but they all say thousands at least. And they all say that it's predominantly aimed at Christians.
OK, let's put it into context and listen to what the Nigerians said after the attack. Nothing wrong with taking out terrorists. I'm on your side when it comes to that. But there's nothing selfless about this from President Trump's point of view. This was something that his own supporters have been pressing him to do. US Christian groups have been pushing him to do it as well. So he was actually appeasing them. That's
he hasn't
the first
got an election to win, though, Nigel. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
But
he's a lame-duck president.
But he likes to please his supporters. So, and the other thing there is that it's not just Christians. That again, according to the Nigerians, it's Nigerian Nigerians being killed, not specific religious groups. So more Muslims have been killed by terrorists than Christians have in Nigeria.
Matt, I don't think that's true, Nigel.
Well, I
don't think that's true.
I mean, I'm taking this from the Nigerian government who are actually there. So it's a question
Nigerian
of
government has said there was no innocent people killed. They said that actually their
what I
statement
said was that more Muslims have been killed by terrorists and also bandits. We're not just talking about terrorists, we're talking about Fulani cattle herders who are grabbing land. They've killed Christians and Muslims, so that hasn't had a religious aspect. What the Nigerians say is that there's been a gross misrepresentation about what has been going on there. And they've also said immediately after the airstrike, this is not a religious thing. It's not singling out one religion. It's down to killing Nigerians, and that's why they went along with it.
That doesn't seem to be the case from what I'm reading, though, Nigel. I've read a lot about this story, and yes, of course, Muslims will suffer as a result of terrorism. Moderate Muslims suffer all over the world where there's terrorism.
Well, more of them.
We see that.
But more of them in this case.
But we're talking at least over the last decade, since 2009, some of these groups here are citing as much as 100,000 people, and that they say that they do specifically...
Which is a figure. That's right, yeah, that figure's been bandied about, along with 18,000 churches burned.
But regardless of the point, right,
that's been disputed by the Nigerian government.
But terrorists are dead.
Yes.
Terrorists are dead. Shouldn't we all be happy with that?
That's why I'm happy
They're dead. Terrorists are dead.
I'm not against killing terrorists.
I'm happy about that.
What I'm saying is that the presentation of this is not exactly as it seems.
Well, the terrorists are dead, so that'll do for me.
This is it, right? This is it for me, Peter, right? We criticise the Americans when they go to countries, they take land, they take oil, and they take the resources of that area, and then we go, right, well, that's not the kind of interventionism we want. Donald Trump hasn't got any land out of this. He hasn't got any military bases. He hasn't got any oil contracts. He has decided to do what he thinks is morally the right thing. Whether Nigel disagrees with him or not and says it's a MAGA thing, well, Trump is the head of the Republican Party. He is, of course, going to do what his base thinks is right. But I also think Trump is quite a strong Christian from all the things he said over the last year, and he has warned these guys to stop. They committed, by all accounts journalists on the ground, an act of terrorism on Christmas Day against Christians, which is deeply, deeply distressing. We do hear this time and time again from the Pope even about this genocide of Christians happening in Africa. Trump's decided to do something about it, and as usual, people can't seem to find anything good to say about it. They just want to... leftists are saying online that this is Trump derangement syndrome. People are calling it Trump derangement syndrome again, as usual.
Terrorists are dead. Sorry if I'm sounding like a stuck record here. Terrorists are dead. That is a good thing. And let's remember what happened in the week before Christmas over here, when two men were convicted, fortunately, thanks to the wonderful work of an undercover operative and others, well done Farouk, that was the code name, of plotting to kill Jews in as large a numbers as they possibly could here in the UK.
Yeah.
They were sourcing weapons, they were plotting, they were planning. They're the type of people that need to be locked up. They're the type of people that here in this country wanted to create bloodshed. And we've got to remember this. These radical Muslims are a huge, huge threat around the world.
Yep.
Less so in countries like Saudi, because they won't even have them in there.
They won't.
Or they'll lock them up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Many countries, UAE, another one, they won't have
them.
And the problem I've got with this, with people who aren't sort of at least on board with this, is that we constantly say to politicians in Britain, we've had enough of the plaudits, condolences, but we're allowing these pockets of terrorism to thrive all over the world, which is going to breed more extremists. And at the moment, we have people flooding into Britain with our porous borders. How do we know that people who are being, literally radicalised by extremists in parts of Nigeria won't be making it here to Britain? At least I'd rather they were gone. As Peter said, Peter go, right, terrorists are dead, happy days.
Well, I'd start by saying we need a good enough border that we're having to not blow up terrorists in other countries because we won't let them in here. That's not the answer. I'm not saying it's wrong. And then say, I'm obviously happy that terrorists are dead. That's a good thing. But you want your long-term, multi-decade plan to be fewer terrorists in Nigeria, less ethnic violence. You have to be very careful that your actions today aren't going to create more extremism tomorrow.
But isn't the way to do that to at least take out the leadership and the pockets of those groups now. So, I mean, the Nigerian government obviously hasn't done it. America has said, right, we're going to act because you're not doing it. And they've worked in coalition with the Nigerian government on this. The Nigerians have said, their government has said that, yes, we support these attacks and we have been working with the Americans on it. So what I don't understand, what the problem is if their government has sanctioned it, maybe, Nigel, you can answer this, your government has sanctioned it, the Trump administration has worked with them to eliminate a radical group. It's worked. No innocent victims have been named. The Nigerian government say no innocents were killed. Surely we should go, this is the kind of interventionism we want.
Yeah, and as far as that goes, I'm right with you. I think that and with Peter, I think that absolutely right. Take out terrorists like ISIS and Boko Haram who are absolutely evil. What I'm saying is that the reasons that Trump has given are not accurate according to the Nigerian government.
What reasons do you think he's given?
Well, what Trump has said is that he's gone in there to protect Christians. He hasn't said, I've gone in there to protect Muslims who've also been under attack, along with mosques in Nigeria. And the Nigerians talking about the fact that we're not really singling out one religious group, that Nigerians are being killed.
To protect Christians? I mean, our government and the Labour
but what about
government...
Muslims?
Well, the Labour government makes a big deal about going into protecting the Muslim majority of Gaza and Palestine. That's a Muslim-mostly country, and they've made a huge deal about going in there, providing aid and trying to stop the Israelis from attacking them. Why can't we show the same sort of resolve?
Well, there aren't many Christians in Gaza, for a start, so...
Well, no, but there's not...
what I'm saying here...
Yeah, and why not? And why aren't there many Christians in Gaza?
Well, because it is a Muslim enclave.
Because how do you think they'd get on?
Well, it's a Muslim enclave. The point about this here is that it is not just Christians who are being killed, and it's not predominantly a religious attack. It is people who are just attacking other people.
But the ends justify the means, and if every Muslim radicalised terrorist nutjob on this planet lived in fear of one of Donald Trump's missiles landing on their bonds, then me, for one, am very, very happy.
That's fine. I'm agreeing with you on that. We did have a point of disagreement about the fact that Trump went out to take out terrorist enclaves. That's fine. What I'm arguing is that the way he's presented it is not accurate.
Well, the Congressman Bill, I can't pronounce his last name, Huizenga, I think it is, a Michigan Republican, who led a delegation to Nigeria. I'm reading this here. He said that attitudes within the Nigerian government were beginning to turn in favour of protecting Christians, in addition to taking actions against those terrorising Christians and moderate Muslims. So it seems to me, at least from the Americans who've been on this delegation's account, that this is actually something that they're warmed up to. Even the Nigerian government has said, actually, do you know what, we do need to start taking out these radical groups, but they don't seem to have the powers to do it. And unfortunately, I feel when you look at the state of the West today, we have allowed so much radicalism to thrive. We withdrew from the Middle East, didn't we? Quite heavily we withdrew from the Middle East, and then we've allowed been allowed to thrive. And instead of that, a power vacuum, has been Islamic State, Boko Haram and those sorts of places, Lara.
Well, this is the difficulty with tackling Islamic extremism, Islamic terrorism. Actions like airstrikes might be good. I would like to see terrorists dead. But you have to be very, very careful that you don't create vacuums where somebody steps up. And the problem with this sort of terrorism is it doesn't really operate on the basis of fear. You have people who are so misniacally operating in favour of their beliefs that they're not very nervous about being killed by airstrikes. So what Trump needs to do now is work with the Nigerian government to have them accept that you have a lot of pockets of extremism, a lot of pockets operating as the Islamic State, and to constantly manage them and deal with them and make sure the Nigerian government acknowledges this. They've been very, very reluctant to talk about it for the last few years.
Not constantly manage them, constantly bomb them and kill them.
Well,
that's what we need to do to pockets of terrorists.
I would like to see terrorists dead across the world, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're having to constantly bomb Nigeria. That is not a good outcome.
But what you need is a strong deterrence to say we are not going to tolerate this kind of extremism where you go and slaughter innocent people. And it's being done by, it's not being done by Christian radicals, Nigel. It's being done by Muslim radical groups in Africa.
Who are killing other Muslims.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not, but Trump has decided.
Either way, bomb them.
Trump has decided this is a 50% Muslim country, basically 50% Christian country,
That's right,
and
yeah.
actually he believes, and his people believe that the Christians are being the ones who are being the most targeted.
Okay, well,
that's his belief.
That's his belief, but not what the Nigerians say on the ground.
But either way, by killing the terrorists, you save the moderate Muslims too.
Yes, I agree with that. That's why we have no problem about the fact that.
So you're just upset about the rhetoric.
What I'm saying is that Trump is not being honest about it. If he was honest about it and said, "Hey, we went in there," as Peter says, we went in there. We wanted to remove the terrorists from Nigeria, and we've succeeded, or at least we've actually removed some of them. If he'd said that, that's absolutely fine. What I'm saying is, it's not about just protecting Christians, which is the impression Trump gives.
Sure, I just don't see what the problem with that is. If that's what the American government wishes to do, and it says it actually thinks it's protecting mostly Christian areas, I think that's also okay. I don't think we should be caught up on the rhetoric if the outcome is a positive one. That's all I'm saying. I think it's very good, and I do think actually Christians are being targeted all over the world. They've been targeted in Syria, they've been targeted in Gaza, they've been targeted in Africa, and I think we need some people to do something about it, because otherwise, when do we ever do anything? And I think persecution is persecution. That's all I would say.
And radical Islam is the enemy.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Islamism is a cancer on the world. I totally agree. Anyway, look, there we go. Time now for a bit of a U-turn for a Great British giveaway. It's your chance to win our biggest cash prize today. This is an incredible 85 grand. Hayley Sparks has been on a magical trip to Lapland and has all the details for you.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make your new year the best yet. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. Imagine what next year could look like for you with a whopping £85,000 in the bank. You could find yourself on the adventure of a lifetime, or just safe in the knowledge that next year is on us. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours. Go on, give it a go, and Merry Christmas!
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up is the PM allowing Brexit to crumble at the seams. My next guest has got some very interesting things to tell you, but next...
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Now, could a coalition with the Greens be the answer to Labour's unpopularity? And of course, I know you're waiting for the big story about Allah Abd El Fattah. That is coming up at 10 o'clock. Robert Jenrick will be joining me to discuss this. There is a lot to talk about in that story. Trust me, it's going to be bombshell TV. You're not going to want to miss it. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, politics is becoming more and more unpredictable by the day. We have Reform UK and even the Green Party steamrolling the traditional two-party system in the polls at the moment. All whilst Labour's unpopularity is, of course, growing since it's been in government. Well, a leading pollster today said the PM's future hangs in the balance of May's elections, if they go ahead, that is, we don't know, with heavy losses for Labour expected in English council seats, defeat in the Welsh Senedd and a battering in the Scottish Parliament. There's even talks of Labour forming a coalition with the Greens to stop Reform UK getting into power. And with the possibility being floated of this in the papers, get this, Ed Miliband as the Prime Minister and Zach Polanski as his deputy. Oh, that's a depressing thought in my opinion, but maybe many people will disagree. Well, that is what this head-to-head is all about today. Would a coalition with the Green Party save Labour? We're now joined by former Green Party Deputy Leader Sharar Ali and political commentator Matthew Stadlen. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me this weekend. Matthew, I'll start with you. Do you think coalitions with these... We've got these two new outsider groups, haven't we? Reform UK on the right and the Greens on the left. They are sort of emerging political forces. Do you think the establishment parties, and in this case specifically Labour and the Greens, could join forces to save a Labour premiership?
So first of all, I wouldn't call them establishment parties. I mean, you know that I'm not a Conservative, I've never voted Tory in my life. But don't forget, over the decades, the vast majority of Brits have voted for those two parties. So I'm not sure it's right to call them establishment parties as much as Nigel Farage and I'm sure Zach Polanski would like us to cast them as that. It's interesting to hear Ed Miliband's name floating around. As a left-leaning person, somebody who voted Labour this time round, not when Jeremy Corbyn was leader, I find it truly astonishing, the idea that he might be leader of the party again. Personally, I think it's fanciful. Why? Well, partly because he had a go. And it was a disaster. And indeed, I think one of the reasons why the Conservatives won an unexpected majority in 2015 under David Cameron was the fear that some in the electorate had of some sort of coalition between Ed Miliband's Labour and the Scottish Nationalist Party. So, if you're on the right...
The coalition of the chaos.
Exactly.
Right?
As it happened, we got total chaos under the Tories and however many different Prime Ministers in a very short space of time. So, look, anything is possible after the election of 2029. if Labour needs to go into coalition in order to stay in power, then it's perfectly plausible that they would. But I cannot see circumstances in which they would do a pre-election pact with the Greens, the Lib Dems or anyone else. Final quick thought, I'm sure we'll come to it. What I do think will happen ahead of the next election, I don't know whether you agree with me on this, is that there will be massive tactical voting. This may happen on the right, and we could talk about that, but I'm pretty certain it will happen on the left, because although Reform have done astonishingly well for an insurgent party, it's a phenomenon, as is becoming the Green Party under Polanski, nonetheless, they don't at the moment have anything like, I don't think, the support in the country to win outright. And there are lots and lots of people in this country who don't want Farage to be Prime Minister, hence tactical voting.
Do you think that's the spread? The spread of the vote is thinner in certain areas, therefore, that even if you get the millions of votes, like Reform saw, they got millions of votes. They actually, did pretty well, but they only returned 4 or 5 MPs.
It's partly about where their support is, and it's partly the fact that there are so many people in the country, I think, and I may be proved wrong, who specifically don't want Farage to be Prime Minister.
Got it. OK, Shara, I'll pass it over to you. Do you think that it would be beneficial for the Green Party? Now, the Green Party's surging, and there are some polls, not every poll, but there's been a few now that put them ahead of the Labour Party. Do you think it'd be beneficial for the Greens to join Labour, or what, do you think it would have a similar Lib Dem effect to that with the Tories had, where the smaller party, which could be the Greens in this case, get absolutely thumped at an election after it because they are in bed with the so-called parties that they want to defeat?
Well, I think first we need to acknowledge that Zach has done a tremendous job of raising the profile of the Greens. I mean, he was elected as leader on a ticket of bold politics and eco-populism. He certainly succeeded on the populism stakes. On the eco-friendly, we're not hearing anything about the environment or the climate calamity. He's chosen to major on one of the issues that is going to define the general election clearly, which is immigration. And he's chosen to align himself with an open borders policy. Now, anything can happen, right? We've been getting, like, on average, up to 15%. I see myself as a critical friend. I'm no great friend of Zach Polanski. I think, in fact, he's taking the party in the wrong direction. But he has secured an extraordinary amount of political capital, and he's an effective communicator. So that has to, we need to put credit where it's due. What then he does with that political capital, anybody, is anybody's game, right, to see what will happen. Clearly, we are a player now. We secured 4 MPs last year with 2 million votes. We could be looking at considerably more, even on the first past the votes. If that was a proportional representation system, that would be 40 MPs. So we are a player. It's certainly the case that there will probably be quite a lot of electoral pacts under consideration, if not with the Labour Party, then with your party, and potentially with independent Muslim MPs as well. So there is a lot riding on this, on how the numbers shake down. And he has probably quite effectively positioned himself now as the anti-Farage vote. And that's going to be quite important for those who want to have anybody but Farage. They may well be voting Green now.
It's not just anti-Farage, though. I mean, they won, I think, that by-election, didn't they, a few months ago, pipped Farage to the post. And so I think Farage and the Reform generally see the Greens as some sort of threat. But he's much more of a threat to Labour and to Starmer, and indeed to anyone who takes over from Starmer if Starmer steps down or is forced out. Why on earth would Zach Polanski want to do a pact with the Labour Party when he is thriving almost specifically because he is taking votes away from Labour? Why take votes away from Labour and then go into some sort of pre-election pact? After the election, if Starmer or whoever's leading the Labour Party at that point are desperate for your support, then you can do all sorts of deals.
Well, he's playing a very dangerous game here, actually, right? Because he's positioned himself left of Labour, and even Labour under Shabana Mahmood have realised that we cannot carry on with unfettered legal and illegal migration. So he's pitched himself left of Labour, and he's probably reasoned that he's playing to what he thinks all politicians give voters what they think they want to hear, and he's doing that here. But I think he's overplayed his hand, because if you look at our own deputy leader, Rachel Millard, All right? She let the bag out when she said she doesn't want this level of illegal migration in her own backyard in Crowborough. That's actually a very sensible, rational position. And I think the risk now is that you will find that the majority, I would say, even of those 100,000 new members, the majority would agree that we want controlled immigration, controlled migration, and there is a significant risk, not just to the population and the white working class, predominantly electors and citizens and communities in Epping or Bournemouth, where we have had sex assault convictions, but also in Crowborough, where we've had 2 MPs elected in Conservative strongholds. Those 2 MP strongholds might be at risk if we continue this trajectory of nonsensical open borders policy.
I'm just going to debunk that immediately because it's factually incorrect. Immigration, legal, illegal, plus asylum, lots of subheadings, none of it is unfettered. We do not have open borders. It is this government's policy to stop the boats. The problem,
but Matthew, we do have open borders in the sense that if someone gets on a boat here from Calais and gets over here, dumps their papers in the water, they can come over here and claim asylum, and they are part. That is an open border.
Alex, the problem is that if you find someone who, as you say, might throw their passport over, and I want the boats to stop. Where do you deport them to if you don't know where they come from?
I'm not challenging you on that. I'm challenging you on the fact that we have got open borders. We do. We have to be honest about the situation here. We do have open. Even the Home Secretary has said we've lost control of the borders. Right?
We have.
So we have to acknowledge that. And I think you're right. I think the problem that the Greens will have is if they are positioning themselves as the pro-migration party and they want open borders, then how do you marry up with a Labour Party that spent this entire time fighting it?
So look. A key point to be made here is that, we talk about the hard left, right? The Green Party currently is not, as far as I'm concerned, a left party worthy of the name. There is absolutely nothing egalitarian or equality connoting about disregarding sex crime on your doorstep perpetrated by migrants.
We are living,
if I could just finish, we are living in a country which is substantially open, porous borders, where people see the absurdity of largely economic migrants rocking up on our shores and being treated like royalty. They're being put up
not true either.
Priority housing, priority clothing, priority.
The idea.
Very briefly. Final word to you, Matthew. Very briefly.
Handouts. This association of the association of people coming across in the numbers that they are, and I've said that I want that to stop, with sex crimes is outrageous. Those people who have committed sex crimes need to serve time in prison, and if we know where we can deport them to, they need to be deported. By the way, the other point is, it is not being treated like royalty to share a hotel room with another man.
Gentlemen, that's
not my idea of being treated like royalty.
I would love to have this debate again with you both. Thank you very much for coming in this weekend. I very much appreciate it. Coming up next is Starmer plotting to reverse Brexit in the shadows. Let's find out. But next, were we promised a stronger Britain in the budget? But the reality is growth is stalling, debt is rising and spending is soaring. We'll be talking about that with a very good guest. That's next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're off to the Eastern Med or Italy over the next few days for a New Year break, it'll be often sunny and dry, but much more unsettled towards the Western Med, particularly across Iberia, with some areas of low pressure bringing in some heavy rain, some strong gusty winds as well, and some mountain snow. Heavy snow on Saturday and into Sunday across the Pyrenees and Andorra. The showers clearing away from Sicily, leaving most of Italy and Greece fine and sunny, but there will be some heavy snow across parts of northern Turkey, otherwise a fine outlook elsewhere.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag of weather across the UK over the next few days. Some sunshine, but equally thicker bits of cloud giving some patchy rain and some frost and fog in places during the overnight period as well. High pressure centred towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Fairly tightly packed isobars indicating quite brisk winds, and those winds are coming in from a chilly east to northerly direction. Certainly a lot of cloud coming in on that easterly flow during the overnight period as well. Some cloud breaks out towards the west of Wales, across the far southwest of England, but the best of the overnight breaks are likely across parts of Scotland. Here turning quite frosty, the blue colours there indicating a widespread frost. some fog patches in places as well. But with the cloud down towards the south and across eastern spots, and with that breeze too, mostly frost-free here. So as we go into Sunday then, we get off to quite a bright start across Scotland once the fog and frost lifts, but that fog could take time to clear in places. Certainly a very cold start, say temperatures below freezing in places here. More in the way of cloud across Northern Ireland, some bright spells. And across England and Wales, it's a fairly cloudy start to Sunday as well. The best of the early brightness across West Wales and the far southwest of England, but elsewhere with a cloud around and a bit of a breeze too. It's mostly frost-free across England and Wales. Going through the rest of the day on Sunday, once that fog and frost clears from Scotland, plenty of sunshine here, some brightness out across other western spots at times, but generally speaking, it will be quite a cloudy day, especially across England and Wales, mostly dry, and later in the day we'll start to see some clearer weather moving in across the far southeast as well. Temperatures close to where they should be for the time of year at about 6 to 8 Celsius, still quite breezy in the south, taking the edge off of those values, and a bit cooler, especially if any fog does linger across parts of Scotland. Monday gets off to a clearer start, so we'll see more in the way of frost around, some fog patches in places. That should all gradually lift to leave some sunshine in places, but notice a band of cloud with patchy rain, a bit of hill sleet there moving south across parts of Scotland. And that takes us into a fairly settled start to the next week. Some sunshine at times, but equally quite chilly still, with some night frost and fog in places.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight. We will be bringing you very shortly that interview with Robert Jenrick on the Allah Abd El Fattah comments, and of course that massive story today, so stay tuned. We'll be bringing that to you at the top of 10 o'clock, but before then, let's cast our memories back to the mid-70s. Stalling growth, rising debt and higher spending. That was when Britain was forced into a huge bailout from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Well, fast forward nearly 50 years, and things are looking like they might be headed back in that direction. Well, Labour might have promised stability and growth in their manifesto, but the reality is low growth, high spending and even bigger borrowing. Will Labour have to hold their hands out to the IMF once again? And joining me now is a man who's written about this very concern, Matthew Lynn, a columnist at The Telegraph. Matthew, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Many people are feeling very concerned about the economy, and rightfully so. We are contracting in many key areas. Production, manufacturing, cars are down, unemployment is rising. Matthew, do you think we're headed towards a 1970s style, IMF bailout, I guess?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an absolute, it's a very good question. I was writing about this in the Telegraph today. We're going to be heading very quickly in 2026, which is just a few days away now. We'll have the 50th anniversary of the only bailout we've had from the IMF way back in 1976. It'll be 50 years ago, probably the most humiliating episode in British economic history, where the then Labour Chancellor Dennis Healey had to go cap in hand to the fund in Washington and ask them for an emergency loan to try and tide the country over. And as you raised in the issue, that's history. But are we heading for the same conditions? I mean, we certainly tick a lot of the boxes. If you look at the kind of papers that the IMF produced at the time, their concerns about the British economy was that it had too much government spending and rising very rapidly. Well, I think we all know that one's being repeated. We had very, very poor productivity. Well, again, we know that one's been repeated, certainly in the public sector, where productivity has been declining quite quickly. And we had very uncompetitive marginal tax rates, a big disincentive to work. And we're not quite back. I think they got up to 98%, the Labour government in the 70s, as your tax rate. But not many people actually paid that. But if you want to add in things like student debt and tapered personal reliefs, a lot of people are facing 65, sometimes even 70%. Tax rate, which is a big
and Matthew,
disincentive.
on top of all of that, of course, the 1970s was characterised with all the civil unrest as well. Do you feel that that might play into it in the future, in the coming years? Because we are seeing tensions rise across the country quite dramatically, particularly over the issue of illegal migration, I would say. On top of that as well, if you don't mind answering for me, Matthew, an IMF bailout normally comes with conditions. The last time we took an IMF bailout in the 70s, that was probably, what is it, 3 billion? We're looking at, to stabilise Britain, it would cost probably 100 billion, I think is what you were writing somewhere in your article today. How bad would that be for Britain?
It'd be pretty bad. I mean, it'd be pretty bad. I mean, we're not necessarily there yet. We got to be cautious about this. And, some of the conditions are there. Not all of the conditions are there to repeat it. We don't have the same kind of trade union power that we had. The unions are getting more powerful, that's definitely true, but they're not at the level they were in the 1970s, where they could hold the country to ransom, very, very regularly, particularly in the manufacturing sector. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think actually last time around, 50 years ago, it was $3.9 billion that we got in the loan from the IMF. In today's money, because you've got to adjust for inflation, that's about $25 billion. It'd be much more this time around. We know the kind of money Rachel Reeves spends in a week. 25 billion really doesn't go very far. The welfare bills and the NHS bills, that's a month or two spending. I mean, it'd be much more like 100 billion. And actually, one of the interesting questions, if the UK or France or one of the other major countries that have similar debt profiles, gets into a serious crisis, the IMF doesn't have that kind of money. It was a smaller sum in the 1970s, and they could just about afford it. But at the moment, without some kind of major restructuring, without asking Donald Trump or the Chinese or somebody to dig deep into their pockets, I don't think that would go very well with this government. They wouldn't have the money. So it would certainly be a crisis, quite a different and possibly more severe crisis, even in the 1970s.
Well, let's hope we avoid it, Matthew. Of course, talking of Trump, he's just been holding back that £30 billion tech deal, which I'm sure Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer would be very happy to have right now. But listen, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Matthew Lynn, columnist at The Telegraph. All right, so coming up, the UK has welcomed a British-Egyptian activist who appears to hold extreme views. Well, that'll be a conversation I'm having with Robert's Jenrick here in just 10 minutes or so. And coming up next, though, just briefly, forget about taking us back into the EU. What Starmer has in store for us could be far worse. That's what my next guest thinks. Stay tuned.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie is here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, the Prime Minister has made no secret of his contempt against the Brexit vote, has he? Leading calls to overturn it, of course, right up until the 2019 election. And now, whilst in power, we're constantly hearing of this UK-EU reset, with Sir Keir Starmer seemingly drawing the UK closer to the European Union. Well, joining me now is Conservative peer and journalist Daniel Hannan. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me this evening. You've been writing about this, Daniel, and I've always said, when Cameron came back to us with that deal, there was the worst of two worlds we could have possibly been in, with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Is that where we're heading here with Starmer's sort of play on Brexit, should we say?
Well, it depends which foot is in and which foot is out, right? There is a perfectly good argument for getting a good, positive relationship which keeps the good bits of a relationship with the EU and ditches the bad bits. And so if we were trying to get trade, cooperation, working together on defence and so on, without being governed from abroad and without having all the stuff that led to the Brexit vote, I hope most people would be on board with that. The trouble is that we're doing the opposite. The Labour Party is plainly now gearing up to fight the next election, at the very least, on a platform of wanting to rejoin the customs union. And you see, I think the people calling for that in Labour don't really know what it is. I think they just see it as a way of saying we want to be closer to the EU, we don't like Brexit. It's really important just to stop for a second and consider what customs union membership would mean. It mean losing all of our trade deals without the compensating advantage of having a removal of goods checks on our trade with the EU. It is absolutely the worst possible deal. It's eating the napkin and throwing away the burger. And the fact that you see all these Lib Dem and Labour people arguing for it, I can only assume that they don't know what it means, that this is just about the vibes for them and that they haven't really thought about the practical consequences. Because there are practical ways in which we can get closer to the EU, but this is really not one of them.
Yeah, Daniel, how damaging what were these trade deals we've been working on with India, with America, and some other trade organisations we've been joining? Would they end up being better for us in the long term? Because a lot of people do feel that Brexit hasn't benefited us economically. I don't think Brexit's been delivered properly, if you want my opinion, Daniel. What's the counter-argument to those people calling for the joining of the customs union?
Well, several things. Yes, of course, in the long run, you want to be where the growing markets are. And so our trade deal, particularly with the Pacific countries, is going to be a very, very powerful asset. We're the only country to have got a good trade deal with India. And if we manage to get one with the US, that will be, they are our single biggest trading partner. But I think the real argument is this. When we made the decision to reclaim regulatory autonomy, there was a certain one-off cost to that, and now we're in a position to start benefiting by making our own rules and by making our own trade deals. Reversing now, when you've just taken that hit, really would be absolutely crazy. And I can't believe that even that our civil servants are suggesting this. I really just think this is about Starmer saying, how do I throw a bone to the Remainers? My party's on below 20%. You know, 48% of people voted to stay in. How do I do some niche marketing? And of course, that is a very bad spirit in which to approach talks.
Indeed. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me. Daniel Hannan, Conservative peer and journalist there. Coming up, I'll be telling you how GPs are being offered over hundreds of thousands to offer care for illegal migrants. But next, Robert Jenrick has written to the Prime Minister after he's hailed the return of a very controversial British Egyptian activist. I'm going to blow the lid on all of it. That is next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag of weather across the UK over the next few days. Some sunshine, but equally thicker bits of cloud giving some patchy rain and some frost and fog in places during the overnight period as well. High pressure centre towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Fairly tightly packed isobars indicating quite brisk winds, and those winds are coming in from a chilly east to northerly direction. Certainly a lot of cloud coming in on that easterly flow during the overnight period as well. Some cloud breaks out towards the west of Wales, across the far southwest of England, but the best of the overnight breaks are likely across parts of Scotland. Here turning quite frosty, the blue colours there indicating a widespread frost. Some fog patches in places as well, but with the cloud down towards the south and across eastern spots, and with that breeze too, mostly frost-free here. So as we go into Sunday then, we get off to quite a bright start across Scotland once the fog and frost lifts, but that fog could take time to clear in places. Certainly a very cold start, to say temperatures below freezing in places here. More in the way of cloud across Northern Ireland, some bright spells. And across England and Wales, it's a fairly cloudy start to Sunday as well. The best of the early brightness across West Wales and the far southwest of England, but elsewhere with a cloud around and a bit of a breeze too. It's mostly frost-free across England and Wales. Going through the rest of the day on Sunday, once that fog and frost clears from Scotland, plenty of sunshine here, some brightness out across other western spots at times, but generally speaking, it will be quite a cloudy day, especially across England and Wales, mostly dry, and later in the day we'll start to see some clearer weather moving in across the far southeast as well. Temperatures close to where they should be for the time of year at about 6 to 8 Celsius. Still quite breezy in the south, taking the edge off of those values, and a bit cooler, especially if any fog does linger across parts of Scotland. Monday gets off to a clearer start, so we'll see more in the way of frost around, some fog patches in places. That should all gradually lift to leave some sunshine in places, but notice a band of cloud with patchy rain, bit of hill sleet there moving south across parts of Scotland. And that takes us into a fairly settled start to the next week. Some sunshine at times, but equally quite chilly still, with some night frost and fog in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, good evening. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight, Alaa Abd El Fattah. That is a name you're going to see a lot on social media tonight. It's the controversial Egyptian-British activist he's being described as, of course, making very, very difficult statements, controversial statements on X. He is coming here to the UK. Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick has written to the Prime Minister in defiance of what he calls a public endorsement of a man with disgusting extremist views. That man is Alaa Abd El Fattah. He's been welcomed here to the UK after his travel ban from Egypt was lifted.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed.
Well, Trump supporters hail airstrikes on ISIS targets in Nigeria as an early Christmas present, with the United States president claiming he's protecting innocent Christians. Plus,
my message to resident doctors is don't abandon patients, work with us to improve conditions and rebuild the NHS.
Well, as the Prime Minister pledges to rebuild the NHS, I'll be telling you why and how GPs are being offered over £130,000 a year to care for illegal migrants awaiting deportation. And on my panel tonight, Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective, Lara Brown, commissioning editor at The Spectator, and Nigel Nelson, GB News' senior political commentator.
Every time you buy a coffee, you are funding a bullet that is killing a Palestinian kid. If you are a Muslim buying Starbucks, shame on you, and Allah is coming for you.
Alaa Abd El Fattah, an Egyptian-born activist who picked up a British passport in 2021, is being sent to Britain from his imprisonment in Egypt. These are his own words from his X, formerly Twitter account, going back to 2009. Yes, we've got them all, even though they were, well, he tried to delete them, didn't he? Here we go. Yes, I consider killing any colonialists, and especially Zionists, heroic. We need to kill more of them. Random shooting of white males should convince them racism costs lives. I rejoice when Zionists are killed. Police are not human. They don't have rights. We should just kill them all. Dear international PhD student, by the way, I'm a racist. I don't like white people, so you know, you got the rest of it there. And this little gem. So, the brilliant British dogs and monkeys really think terrorists will reveal their plans on Twitter. That is just a few examples, not even a full litany, of Alaa Abd El Fattah's public posts where he spews raw anti-Semitism, celebrates the murder of innocent civilians, calls for killing police and brands British people as dogs and monkeys. Yet, here comes Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, gushing with delight. He said in a statement today on X, "I'm delighted that Alaa Abd El Fattah is back in the UK and has been reunited with his loved ones. Alaa's case has been a top priority for my government. I'm grateful to President Sisi for his decision to grant the pardon." David Lammy, Yvette Cooper and many Labour ministers and MPs have rolled out the metaphorical red carpet for this hate preacher. But surprise, surprise, this rot started under the last government. The previous Tory Home Office appeared to rubber stamp his British citizenship in 2021. He wasn't even here, by the way. He was in prison in Egypt. And James Cleverly, as Foreign Secretary, now, of course, a shadow frontbencher for the Tories, boasted he was working tirelessly to bring this man home, as he calls it. Governments, regardless of party, have barred individuals from the UK for extreme views that often seem less provocative than El Fattah's tweets. Well, Dutch MP Geert Wilders was banned in 2009. 3 anti-Islam activists were blocked by the Tories in 2018. And Ronald Camus, creator of the Great Replacement theory, was denied entry by Labour this year. Hundreds of thousands of your taxpayer pounds flying diplomats, lobbying Cairo, have been used to the campaign for the British states to import this man into our country so he can keep vomiting this poisonous, anti-Semitic, anti-British bile on our streets. And there's even more egg on the face of Keir Starmer. Allah's account has been reposting Guardian journalists. One of them slammed him for daring to thank President Sisi of Egypt, the very man who pardoned him. What an utter clown show. The man isn't even thankful. The people running his account don't seem to be. It's also important to note that both the BBC and Sky News have failed to include any of this information I've just told you in their articles regarding Alaa El Fattah. Their articles read a little bit more like puff pieces than solid journalism. El Fattah should never, ever have been handed out a British passport. He should never have been allowed through our borders. And frankly, let's not forget this. This government locks people up here for far less than what he said, don't they? Yet they've spent all this money bringing this vile piece of work to Britain. What an utter joke. They're happy to flood our country with hate as long as it fits their virtue signalling agenda. I'm sick of it, and British people are sick of it too. And joining me now is Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick. Robert, thank you so much for joining me this evening. This has really infuriated me, what's happened here today. I want to ask you, first of all, why you felt compelled to write to the Prime Minister about this issue.
Well, good evening, Alex. I was absolutely livid when I heard that this vile piece of work is going to be coming to our country, potentially living at taxpayers' expense for years to come. As you say, a little look at his Twitter account reveals everything you need to know about this man. He says he hates white people. He says that the Brits are monkeys. He says that Zionists deserve to die. He says that the police are not human beings and should be killed. He said during the London riots that the city and Downing Street should be set on fire. He's denied the Holocaust. On and on and on it goes. And yet we saw last night the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary of our country rejoicing at the fact this man was coming here, bragging that they'd achieved some kind of diplomatic coup, that someone who basically hates Britain, hates everything that we stand for, is now going to be coming here to roam our streets and live potentially the rest of his life amongst us. It is an absolute disgrace. It tells you everything you need to know about this Labour government, and it has to be stopped if we can. I think this man's citizenship should be revoked, and he should be made to live in Egypt or, frankly, anywhere else in the world other than the UK.
I totally agree with you, Robert. I was genuinely angry reading this stuff today, and I'm sure many British people will be infuriated at home. I have to ask you about one of your fellow shadow frontbenchers, James Cleverly, who's previously tweeted that he was tirelessly working to get the release of this man, and of course one of your fellow Tory MPs, Alicia Kearns, who has been advocating for him to come back to Britain. She said now he must be returned home to his child in Brighton who needs their daddy home. That was Alicia Kearns. This, of course, is James Cleverly's tweet here. Do you condemn their statements on bringing this man, well, at least Alicia Kearns, who wants to bring this man to Britain, do you condemn any of that, Robert?
Well, look, you'd have to ask them. It may be that they didn't know that this man was a rampant, flagrant anti-Semite and that he'd said all of these appalling things in the past, and he'd been subject to the controversies that he has. I just don't know is the honest answer, Alex. But what I can say is he should never have been given British citizenship in 2021, and I'm ashamed that the last Conservative government did that. The officials at the Foreign Office, who have wasted hundreds and hundreds of hours of their time, which they should have been spent pursuing genuine British interests, should hang their heads in shame that instead they sought to bring this man to the United Kingdom, a very country that he appears to despise. It tells you everything you need to know about the failure of the British state in recent years. Our diplomats do not seem to understand what our actual interests are. They're almost acting against the interests of the British people. And your viewers watching tonight will think that they are mugs, paying for these people to be out there on the world stage, supposedly representing us, when in fact they're doing us harm.
Robert, many people will be wondering how this man got a passport. In 2021, he was in prison in Egypt. That's when the British government issued him a passport. That was under the previous government. I believe Boris Johnson was Prime Minister at the time. They'll be wondering why, with all the record of his tweets, which is very public information, who on earth authorised this? Why is, if you're right and saying that actually perhaps people like James Cleverly and Alicia Kearns weren't aware of his tweets, which then we should extend that same justice to the Prime Minister, who may not have also been aware too and has made his statements, of course. If that's the case, where does the blame lie here? Why does this rot keep happening in Britain? Why are people allowed to get passports that should never, ever be allowed to have passports in the first place, let alone have the British government lobbying for them?
Well, look, I've said in the letter I've written to the Prime Minister today that if he didn't know the full past of this man, then he should fess up and withdraw his endorsement for him. He should say that he no longer welcomes him to the United Kingdom and, in fact, do everything he can to prevent him from coming here, if that's possible at this late stage in the process. But there's clearly been a massive failure here. The fact that Foreign Office and presumably Home Office officials as well have studied and worked on this file for years and years and either knew about his past or were ignorant of it, in which case it was gross negligence. And I think we deserve, or the British public deserve, to know which of those it is and how we can ensure this doesn't happen again in the future. I think that there is incredible naivety in some parts of the civil service where they're happy to brand people human rights campaigners and activists and overlook the things that they're actually been saying and doing. This man may have been one of the early celebrity activists in the Arab Spring and have gained some international acclaim for that. But he's not somebody who we should be welcoming into this country because he quite clearly doesn't share our values. And the tenuous link that he has through his mum, the fact that she spent a short amount of time here when she was a student back in the day, shouldn't be sufficient to absolve him for everything that he said more recently in his own life. If there's an opportunity to do so, I would call on the government to revoke his citizenship and send him back to Egypt, where he deserves to live.
Indeed. I mean, Robert, when you look at some of the tweets he's posted and think about people who've been locked up in Britain for, I would say, far less, actually, that it wouldn't warrant someone we want in this country. That's my opinion. But Robert, I want to show you...
On that point, Alex, look, we talk about two-tier Britain, but you've got comedians who get arrested at the airport for some tweets. You get people like Lucy Connolly, who did a reprehensible tweet, which she then regretted and deleted, who got sent down for 30 months in prison and spent 15 months of her life away from her family and her child because of that. And then this man actually gets welcomed into our country for saying things as worse, in fact, much worse. You actually get the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom tweeting in unison as if this person is the Messiah. What is wrong with these people? As I say, they've either completely lost their moral compass or they were so ignorant that they didn't even know the man they were talking about. And I don't know which is worse. But either way, Starmer should delete that tweet, he should apologise, and he should try and prevent this man from living in the UK.
Certainly agree. I don't know if you've got two minutes, Robert, but we wanted to show you this clip, the scenes of Westfield in London just the other day. If you don't mind, we'll just roll that for you now.
Every time you buy a coffee, you are funding a bullet that is killing a Palestinian kid. If you are a Muslim buying Starbucks, shame on you, and Allah is coming for you.
Robert, it worries me when I see scenes like this happening in our capital. It's obvious secularism. It's obvious, well, it's using religion to essentially radicalise people, in my opinion. What do you make of that clip?
Well, I almost don't recognise parts of our country at the moment. People should just be able to go about their business, go shopping, go to the sales on Boxing Day and after Christmas in peace in the way that they always did, without having these political conflicts constantly brought to people's doors, people rushing into shopping malls and ramming their politics down other people's throats. It's disgusting. It's a sad reflection on the country, and we've got to work much harder to stamp out this kind of extremism that's poisoning the political debate in our country and ruining people's lives. Because this isn't the Britain that any of us want to live in. We live in a great country. We can fix this. We can stop this rot that we're seeing at the moment. And we just need politicians with the courage to step up and face these people down.
Thank you very much for joining me, Robert Jenrick there, Shadow Justice Minister. Pleasure to have you on the show, Robert. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. A government spokesman said this. Mr El Fattah is a British citizen. It has been a long-standing priority under successive governments to work for his release from detention and to see him reunited with his family in the UK. And we, of course, have approached Al Abdul Fattah and his family for comment. I'm now joined by Nigel Nelson, GB News' senior political commentator, who's joining me to talk about this. Nigel, Robert there saying he wants the Prime Minister to take down his tweet and apologise. Do you agree with him?
No, I do not. Look, this man was a political prisoner in Egypt. He's been a political prisoner on and off since 2006. You've had international organisations, including the UN and Amnesty, campaigning for his release. You've had English Pen giving him a Writer of Courage award. This man should be in Britain. He's a British citizen. As you've pointed out, citizenship given by the Tories. Successive governments have campaigned for his release. Now he is here. He is where he should be.
But Nigel, I don't know how we can allow a man who said these things into our country. And I've criticised both Tories and Labour about this. I think Alicia Kearns is absolutely wrong to call for him to be here. And I think James Cleverly was wrong to try and get this man brought over to Britain. We can campaign for free speech. I don't want to see anybody locked up for tweets. Quite frankly, I think it is a breach of your right to do so. Even though I find those tweets disgusting, I don't want to see people imprisoned for it. However, I don't want that man here. He is Egypt's problem. Why have we made somebody with his views our problem?
Because he's a British citizen.
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't a British citizen until 2021. Why did we do that? Why do you think we did that? What on earth have we got to gain from that?
Because he was a political prisoner. He had a son in this country, lives in Brighton. So it is absolutely right.
It's not our problem. It's not our problem, Nigel.
Here's a man who
This is suicidal empathy.
Here is a man who was. Do you agree he was a political prisoner?
I do agree he was a political prisoner. I do. However, he did break the law in Egypt, and had he made those tweets here in Britain, he would have broken our laws. Right. So there are elements of what he did. If you're going to condemn Lucy Connolly and other people, we must also condemn what he did, and he spent time in prison. I don't think it's right. I don't agree. Lucy Connolly should have been in prison, by the way. So I'm very consistent on my views on this. However, what he said about Britain, about Jews, about killing US soldiers, in some cases, some of his tweets, shouldn't be allowed into the UK for that. We banned Geert Wilders, an elected Dutch official, for saying far less.
I agree that those tweets are disgusting, and they go back 15 years. So we don't know if those are his current views now he's actually in Britain. I don't know. I certainly know that Keir Starmer, if he knew about those tweets, would never have endorsed them. The point
but
is...
why doesn't the Prime... This is the thing, Nigel, and I was saying this to Robert because, of course, I was talking about James Cleverly wanting to help this man. I was talking about Alicia Kearns wanting to advocate for him to be brought to Brighton. And this is the question I had for Robert, which is, why does this keep happening? Why are our politicians either so ill-informed that they go and advocate, and the Prime Minister used the word, he was delighted this man was here. That is a strong word. Now, if the Prime Minister is not informed, whose job is it to inform the Prime Minister, and why are they so bad at it?
The point is that he shouldn't have been in jail in Egypt in the first place.
Fine, that's not our problem.
Why
is it our problem?
It is if he's a British citizen.
But he was only made a British citizen after his imprisonment.
Yes, that's perfectly true. But he was made a British citizen.
But should we be making a British citizen of a man who said British people are like dogs and monkeys? That was one of the tamer things he said, by the way. Should we be making people like that a British citizen?
Given what he was campaigning about in Egypt, given his work during the Arab Spring, he was arrested for protesting, and he was constantly arrested for protesting, went on hunger strike. He would see himself as championing freedom. We saw it the same way, and that's why we gave him a home here.
Well, Nigel, we're both going to have to disagree on this one, unfortunately. I think this man should be, if he was on his flight, I'd say turn it around right now and send him back to Egypt, relinquish that dual citizenship, because that is that's a thing we can do. If the Prime Minister really doesn't want this man in the country, he can take away his British citizenship. We do have the power to do that, seeing as he's still an Egyptian one, but I have a feeling all those human rights lawyers and all the lefties in the country will keep someone like that here, and I do not want them in this country. That is my opinion. What do you think at home? gbnews.com/your say. Time now for a Great British giveaway. It's your chance to win our biggest prize to date. It's an incredible 85 grand. Hayley Sparks has been in Lapland. Here's all the details.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make your new year the best yet. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. Imagine what next year could look like for you with a whopping £85,000 in the bank. You could find yourself on the adventure of a lifetime, or just safe in the knowledge that next year is on us. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours. Go on, give it a go, and Merry Christmas!
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, coming up, I'll be telling you why and how GPs are being offered over 130 grand a year to care for illegal migrants awaiting deportation. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So this is a lovely story because it's about a chap who bought this DB5 and he bought it for 900 quid. This is an Aston Martin DB5.
It's a lovely car.
Bought it for 900 quid. And then for 50 years, pretty much didn't do very much. He moved to the Middle East, car left was on his driveway, things happened, the local kids jumped on it and various other things, and it just decayed. He has spent pretty much the big wodge of 400 grand having it done.
Do we have a picture of this car now?
Oh, I thought as I was waffling. Well, I can hold it up. But this is how it looks now. There we go. This is how it looked then and now. I don't know which.
So he spent 400 grand on this.
400 grand. He sent it back to Aston Martin.
Oh.
To where it was made, and the reason it's worth now about $1 million is because there were only 37, I think,
39
of them made, and so it's very rare. There we go. Well done, him.
Pretty penny on that. Good for him.
Yeah. Yes, and good for him.
He hasn't made it yet.
No, he hasn't made it. It's just worth. I know. He may.
I was reading a story about a man who'd spent £1 million on a DB5, and it's now worth 500,000. But,
right,
they
OK.
hit a peak a couple of years ago, but who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
But don't you want to put money on the car in order to use it, not to sell it?
Well,
I mean,
he's just...
I had a car like that. I drive it.
Of course. No, then that's what... He's not selling it. He's worked hard to... He said, we've worked hard to get it
it's a work of art.
Reconditioned, and it's just... And he loves it.
I wonder, does it have machine guns and things they're going to...
Oh, no, weirdly, it says no.
Or an ejector
no ejector seat, exactly. Or any of those other things, yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, migrants in immigration removal centres have been found to be in line for first-class healthcare treatment. The news comes after a job was posted from contractors acting on behalf of the Home Office for Heathrow Airport Immigration Removal Centre, offering, get this, 130 grand for a GP funded by you, the taxpayer, at home. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps says it's a disgrace for the government to give red carpet treatment to illegal migrants. Well, joining me now is NHS GP David Lloyd. David, thank you very much for joining me this evening. British people are sitting on long waiting lists. They are sometimes waiting weeks to get an NHS GP. Now they're going to be perhaps second in queue to a very highly paid GP treating illegal migrants awaiting deportation. Is it fair?
Well, if you lock people up, however briefly, they create medical need, and it is the law that we must provide medical care for them. 135k is a salary that is very comparable to what GP locums earn in the UK. The going rate for GPs locums is about 100 to 110 pounds an hour. So if you annualize that up, you get to be 150,000 very easily. And remember, both these jobs, both the job that's being offered by this private company to look after detainees and GP locums, they don't have pensions, they don't have partnership contracts. These are very short-term jobs. And the standalone GP that's going to be working in these detention centres has got a very complex job. Secure estate work, complex safeguarding, very high medico-legal risks. It's not a straightforward GP job at all.
But at the same time, David, GPs, British people who pay their taxes, unlike the illegal migrants that will be there, will be waiting perhaps weeks to see a GP. Many of them, of course, hard-working British people. The average salary that we've been able to work out here is around 79,000 for GPs working in the NHS,
which is for a salaried GP with all the benefits of
correct. Yes, so your point stands. Your point certainly stands on that. But many will be saying, well, why don't they get in line, these illegal migrants? Why have they got to have a dedicated GP?
It's the law.
Yeah, but it's the law for British people to be seen by GPs, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And the NHS
So why are
provides
they
that,
getting a
but
dedicated GP? Why can't they wait in line like the rest of us?
they're in prison. They can't wait in line, and they
could be put on a local
serious
NHS
health
waiting
problems.
list, surely.
Actually, locking up people causes health problems. They get anxious. They can have drug withdrawal. They have self-harm risks. Lots of them will have untreated chronic disease. They are a very needy people who need healthcare, and it is the law that we provided.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have healthcare, David, but there's British people who are in dire need of a GP, many of them working 7 days a week sometimes, paying hard taxes, have been in line for a GP. I'm just asking why the illegal migrants who haven't contributed anything here, who have made the decision to come to the UK, deserve to have a dedicated GP to them when British people have to wait like the rest of us.
So you're saying that you would deprive them of healthcare?
No, I haven't said that at all. I've said I don't know why they're getting a dedicated GP. Why they can't get in line like the rest of us. They can't go to a local GP.
They're not getting a luxury health service. They're getting the bare minimum of healthcare, and they're providing GPs who are going to have a very difficult job.
Oh, OK. We'll have to have some disagreement on that one there. Thank you for joining me, NHS GP David Lloyd there. I'll just read a quick write a reply from the Home Office. The Home Office does not directly fund these roles. We are making sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration, which will make Britain a less attractive destination for illegal migrants and allow us to remove and deport people more easily. We've already returned nearly 50,000 people with no right to be here and delivered millions of pounds in savings across the immigration system. All right, my panel's back here with me. Peter, I'm going to pass it straight over to you. I'm a little bit surprised, really. I don't know. What do you make of it all?
Well, I've got grade C biology O-level. I've got a lapsed first aid certificate, and I've got a Stanley knife. 130 grand, I'll give it a go.
My point to the GP there, David, the GP David Lloyd there, was that I don't see why these illegal migrants need to have a dedicated GP, why they can't sit in the queue like the rest of us. We're all waiting for GPs. I've been waiting for a GP actually for 4 weeks to see me. Why don't I get a 130 grand locum GP to see me first?
Because you're not in a detention centre about to be deported from the UK. I mean, that's almost kind of some of the irony of it all. Of course, people will need to be treated if they're poorly, no matter what their circumstances, if they're a prisoner serving life, if they're about to be deported. But I think there's a big question here about these contracts that are awarded by the government. I think some of these companies, the huge ones, and we all know their names, that make tens upon tens of millions from government contracts, are actually kind of getting fat on the proceeds, really, when they need to be far better managed. And why should a GP with this role at a deportation centre be paid almost 50% more than a GP in our local surgery?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Best of the best, apparently. This is first-class healthcare, isn't it? And they haven't paid a dime for it, Lara. That's the problem I have. British people who work their backsides off in this country, some of them work very, very difficult jobs, are waiting in line. And why is it illegal migrants get to jump the queue?
The tricky thing about this story is that, from reading it, the impression I'm getting is that people in detention centres are getting a standard of GP equivalent out of a private GP. So if you're a British taxpayer, you live in Britain, you share a GP with around 2,000 people.
Yes.
But in this detention centre of 820 people, we're looking at recruiting multiple GPs to work there at around sort of double the price, depending on the cost. I suspect part of that is a private contractor who, as you said, is getting fat in the process. But I also wonder why the Home Office is allocating so much money to having a GP here. And I think the answer is that if we look at a lot of asylum cases, if you can prove to a GP very subjective things like that you have PTSD, you have a much stronger asylum case. You can often reopen a closed asylum case on the grounds of alleged torture, which might not be true. And I think we're now spending more and more money on providing people who would have been deported with possibly false evidence for their cases. We need to sort that system out, quicken the process, and have people not spending months and months in centres, because this story is evidence of how expensive that is to the taxpayer every day someone spends in one of these centres.
Nigel?
Well, I mean, I think that David was absolutely right with what he said. That first of all, if you're taking a locum GP, this is not an outrageous amount of money. These are people with particular needs. And as far as actually sort of joining the queue for the NHS, again, David made the point, well, they can't, they're in a detention centre. So just just as you would have a doctor for a prison, you have a doctor for a detention centre to deal with complex needs with a lot of vulnerable people that they will have to actually work with.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the job advert promotes work benefits, including discounts on shopping and leisure activities, 24/7 employee assistance helpline, financial assistance when you need it. This is first-class healthcare. I mean, there are doctors who don't have this kind of privilege. And as Lara correctly pointed, they might be getting multiple GPs in their facilities, Nigel. And that wouldn't be the case for many British people. Sometimes, like you said, 2,000 people to a GP. This would be a much better statistic for them.
I've got a particular need, and that is everybody that comes to this country illegally is detained and deported. That's my particular need. Get it done.
Yeah, I'm just so overwhelmingly angry. I really am, because it winds me up that you can come to this country, you can say, oh, I'm sick, oh, I need treatment. And you can just come here on holiday and do it and then leave and not pay a penny. And then we have to foot the bill. We have to foot the bill. Why are we such mugs?
Well, hang on.
Because we're a soft touch.
Yeah, we are.
If you are a migrant and come here legally, you're going to pay a health surcharge so you can use the NHS.
You can do holiday. You know, this is people who trick the NHS. They come here and they're on holiday and they don't pay the NHS, right? That's a big problem. That costs us millions and millions of pounds every year. But we also have now illegal migrants who are coming here, getting seen at the front of the queue now, their own GP, when British people are waiting a record waiting list.
But whoever they are, they need health care. And so...
It's just not our problem. It's another thing. It's like this Alaa Abd El Fattah guy. It's not our problem. We've made this our problem and nobody's doing anything about it.
Do you leave them to die in their detention centres?
No, we send them back to where they came from and let their country solve their health problems.
Our system is exploited. If you look at how many heavily pregnant women fly into this country from Africa, for example, right? And lo and behold, what happens? They give birth to their children in this country. OK? There are many other ways that our health system is exploited. Health tourism, we know it happens. And unfortunately, this just adds to this growing feeling that we're a soft touch, that we're being taken for mugs. And story after story is being exposed and it's gnawing away. It's irritating people because they're going, why should somebody who's come here illegally, why should somebody who's playing the system get a better level of treatment than I do?
Yeah. We have chosen to have a socialised healthcare system where healthcare is free. That is unique and special. You have to guard that jealously because it's not something that we can afford to provide to the whole world. That is true.
Yeah, yet we do somehow. Yet we do. Yeah, it's this suicidal empathy I keep talking about. It really is. It's going to destroy our country. It really will. Look, coming up, sneak peek at tomorrow's front pages, and that important story we've covered at the top of this hour has almost certainly made it to a front page somewhere, hasn't it? We were always going to be the first here to having the difficult conversations, leading the way here at GB News. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News. We'll be back in a tick.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're off to the Eastern Med or Italy over the next few days for a New Year break, it'll be often sunny and dry, but much more unsettled towards the Western Med, particularly across Iberia, with some areas of low pressure bringing in some heavy rain, some strong gusty winds as well, and some mountain snow. Heavy snow on Saturday and into Sunday across the Pyrenees and Andorra. The showers clearing away from Sicily, leaving most of Italy and Greece fine and sunny, but there will be some heavy snow across parts of northern Turkey, otherwise a fine outlook elsewhere.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag of weather across the UK over the next few days. Some sunshine, but equally thicker bits of cloud giving some patchy rain and some frost and fog in places during the overnight period as well. High pressure centred towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Fairly tightly packed isobars indicating quite brisk winds, and those winds are coming in from a chilly east to northerly direction. Certainly a lot of cloud coming in on that easterly flow during the overnight period as well. Some cloud breaks out towards the west of Wales, across the far southwest of England, but the best of the overnight breaks are likely across parts of Scotland. Here turning quite frosty, the blue colours there indicating a widespread frost. Some fog patches in places as well, but with the cloud down towards the south and across eastern spots, and with that breeze too, mostly frost free here. So as we go into Sunday then, we get off to quite a bright start across Scotland once the fog and frost lifts, but that fog could take time to clear in places. Certainly a very cold start, say temperatures below freezing in places here. More in the way of cloud across Northern Ireland, some bright spells. And across England and Wales, it's a fairly cloudy start to Sunday as well. The best of the early brightness across West Wales and the far southwest of England, but elsewhere with a cloud around and a bit of a breeze too. It's mostly frost-free across England and Wales. Going through the rest of the day on Sunday, once that fog and frost clears from Scotland, plenty of sunshine here, some brightness out across other western spots at times, but generally speaking, it will be quite a cloudy day, especially across England and Wales, mostly dry, and later in the day we'll start to see some clearer weather moving in across the far southeast as well. Temperatures close to where they should be for the time of year at about 6 to 8 Celsius, still quite breezy in the south, taking the edge off of those values, and a bit cooler, especially if any fog does linger across parts of Scotland. Monday gets off to a clearer start, so we'll see more in the way of frost around, some fog patches in places. That should all gradually lift to leave some sunshine in places, but notice a band of cloud with patchy rain, a bit of hill sleet there moving south across parts of Scotland. And that takes us into a fairly settled start to the next week. Some sunshine at times, but equally quite chilly still, with some night frost and fog in places.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, well, well. What do you think is on the front page of The Telegraph today? They're reporting that Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed an alleged Islamist extremist to the UK. We said it here first, didn't we? We told you, we reported it before anyone else did, and we've done it. The Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph, this is their lead story. Of course, we'll be talking about that again in just a few moments with my panel. Let's go quickly to the Sunday Express. Kemi Badenoch says Rachel Reeves is only in her job to protect Sir Keir Starmer. The Sunday Mirror, Brits want to ban social media for kids. The Sun on Sunday, Torvill and Dean made Dame and Knight. All right, let's get the thoughts of this fantastic panel. They're still here with me. Obviously, there's a big story in town. I told you it would be. The Sunday Telegraph front page here, Peter. Starmer welcomes extremist to Britain. The Prime Minister hails arrival of Egyptian prisoner who called for police and Zionists to be killed.
Two things. Number one, has he started claiming benefits yet? Because I'll bet you my bottom dollar he'll sign on, he'll get this benefit, that benefit, and goodness knows what else. I strongly doubt that he's going to be a contributing member to society. Who knows? The Guardian might give him a job as a columnist. I don't know if you've got any inside tack on that, Nigel. Secondly, as a matter of urgency, give him a phone and an X account. Because if he's consistent and he tweets the kind of hateful stuff that he's done in the past, and he does that now, he'll get nicked very, very quickly. And if the criminal justice system is remotely consistent, he'll be charged and locked up.
Yeah, I suspect with the amount of tweets that have been deleted from that account over the last few hours that I think they'll be very, very careful around it. Lara, many people... The question that I've had when I saw this story, and I think we were all talking about it here briefly, is why have we got involved in this? Why is it that the Tories went out of their way to try and give this man a passport, to advocate for him on behalf of the British government, to give him a citizenship here? It's a really big question, isn't it?
It's a very strange question, and the part of this that interests me is this isn't just a Keir Starmer issue. It's nice to slag him off, but this is about a decade of Conservative policy. Yeah. And this dates back to us getting very involved in the Arab Spring and trying to identify good guys and bad guys in an immensely complex issue, and picking out people like this who have said, what is the exact quote? I advocate for the murder of all Zionist civilians. finding those people and sort of trying to identify good guys and bad guys and intervening in a really messy way. And what we've now brought someone to the UK who we never needed to deal with, who I think poses a very, very serious extremist risk. Unnecessary.
Nigel, this is the thing, isn't it? And we were obviously, you spoke with me about this earlier on. I don't want to keep on going over the same ground, but it will beg the question about the incompetence, perhaps, or maybe blissful ignorance in the Home Office, because they're the ones who issue this stuff. They're meant to advise our top brass, our politicians, who are very busy people. You know, the Prime Minister doesn't have time to sit there and scroll through X endlessly and look at people who be getting British passports. So let's be honest about that. We know that's not the case. But it does beg the question as to how they manage to get and slip through the net. The Home Office should do its due diligence and tell ministers, OK, here's this portfolio of this man, here's everything he said on social media, here's what he's written about. Because I can bet your bottom dollar they had all the information about his activism, but they hadn't seen the same way that the BBC and Sky News have reported this story. None of them mention any of his tweets. Funny, that.
Well, I think Laura's right, that the reason for it is that it was the Arab Spring. We were looking for the right people to actually support. After that, we gave him British citizenship. Now, you may think that was a mistake, but that's what we did. So, therefore,
it's a massive mistake. It's a massive mistake.
You may say that,
Nigel,
but
you can't tell me. I think that, I mean, there are already calls for ministers to revoke his citizenship, which may actually happen because he's a dual national. We could revoke it. We should revoke it, by the way. If you're watching, any of you Labour MPs are watching, revoke that citizenship. Do the right thing. Regain some trust. We can't surely welcome a man who said these things into our country. Otherwise, who do we let in?
Well, first of all, we're talking about tweets from a long time ago.
Yes, that's true.
What he says is that they've been taken out of context. I agree they're absolutely appalling. If he tweeted one of those now, he would be arrested, as Peter says. But there's also the other side of it, and that was his campaigning in Egypt, standing up for protesters, standing up for free speech, getting the backing of the UN, getting the backing of Amnesty. On the basis of that, if we assume he's reformed since those days back in 2010 when he put the tweets out, then he deserves to be brought to Britain.
Can somebody please tell me how the Arab Spring worked out in those majority Muslim countries? How did it work out? Yeah, it wasn't the Great Enlightenment. The Middle East is now a beacon of democracy.
It's way worse. It's actually, do you know what?
Sharing Western values.
I would say, Peter, the Arab Spring was one of the worst things to happen to the West in a very, very long time because all that drama has found its way onto our shores. That was the worst thing, removing those dictators who were holding back. They were holding back all those extremists. We're going to talk about this after the break, of course, so stay with us. Kemi Badenoch also says that Rachel Reeves is only in her job to protect Sir Keir Starmer. Probably true. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
9:30.
It is indeed.
And as the new year approaches, we've got, for the very first time, our GB News charity calendar. It's on sale, and 100% of the price. I should point out, actually, the pictures were taken by you and voted for by you because we've got so many entries. So you've made this. 100% of the profits go to our 2025 charity partner, which is the London Taxi Drivers Charity for Children. And that actually is also proudly supported by Her Majesty the Queen. Really, really lovely
But look, I'm
pictures.
just going to take... There's a... Oh, hold on a sec. There we go. Look. How lovely are those pictures?
It's really nice. It's what is most important is the fact that, as we say, 100% of the money is going to charity. If you pick one up at the GB News shop online, and the chairman of the Taxi Drivers Charity for London is Anthony Moore and is here. It's great to see you.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about what the charity does.
We do several events a year. We take kids to the seaside as a group of taxis. So this year we had 80 taxis transferring around about 200 children. We went to the zoo this year, and so We've done that as an event. Everybody gives up their time. The taxi drivers just give up their time, all just so that the kids can have a good time. We've got our Christmas party, or the Mad Hatters party. That's in January. And we've got now 700 and... We've had to limit the numbers this year. We've got 720 children coming at the moment.
Wow.
But they will be entertained by singers, dancers. We've got the King's Welsh Guards turning up to give them the dimensions of the dance floor. So they're coming to do, in their full regalia, they hang around, hats on children, photographs. So, you know, we do several things.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, shall we go back to that big story, shall we? The front page of The Telegraph. Starmer welcomes extremist to Britain. Let's stick with that for a moment here. We were just talking before the break about the Arab Spring, because Peter and I were both saying, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Peter, but I think you might agree with me that I think the Arab Spring was the worst thing to happen to Britain. And I think this is what's happened here. I think the Tories looked at what was going on in the Arab Spring and said, who can we virtue signal? Who can we virtue signal and bring to Britain to say, actually, we want to protect free speech around the world? Something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. Peter, something's gone terribly wrong in the Blob, in the Home Office, who haven't looked at this man, or even worse, Peter, someone might have looked at him, told the minister, and they've gone, don't worry, ignore it.
Yeah, but while we're talking about the Middle East and dictators and the such like, let's go back to Iraq, the second Iraq war, OK? Blair and that folly. That was nonsense. Hooking up with the Americans, going to Afghanistan, dreadful. Such a shocking loss of British life. Our politicians are, quite frankly, incredibly stupid. OK? If you look at the first Gulf War, right, when Saddam Hussein invaded a sovereign state and got his army repelled through a coalition, that was a different thing. Going in to try and effect regime change and try and impose democracy at the end of a barrel of a gun is, like, not only like a contradiction in terms, but it's daft. It's stupid. Iraq was better off with Saddam Hussein, and we were better off with Saddam Hussein in power. Libya was better off with Gaddafi in charge, and we were better off. We were getting to intercept the boats of Semtex that he was sending out to terrorists and the such like. Sometimes these daft politicians, they should have learnt from history. Russia couldn't defeat the Taliban. They were called the Mujahideen in those days. In Afghanistan, you can't take that country over. And these daft, stupid politicians didn't learn. And we are reaping what we sowed to a certain extent with all this mass migration into our country now. It's all the politicians' fault.
Lara, do we have suicidal empathy in this country to the extent where we bring people here that aren't good for us, that we don't seem to know who many of them are? This is just one bloke, of course, he's got a background. The worst thing about all of this is that it doesn't take 2 seconds to log on to Twitter if you're a Home Office employee and look up his name and see if he said anything controversial. Or we've banned elected MPs from... Gert Wilders was banned for being too extreme. He wasn't allowed to come to Britain. 3 anti-Islam activists banned. The man who came up with the Great Replacement theory banned from Britain. Yeah, this bloke's got a passport and he's here.
So Robert Jenrick was telling you earlier in the show that it was quite likely that the Tories who clapped this man's citizenship and said, let's get him here, weren't aware of his comments on X. I think the thing that makes me quite nervous then, this is one case, it's on the front page, but this seems to tell me that when we're considering a highly politically active person for citizenship, for coming to this country, we don't have civil servants somewhere going through the social media, doing a background check, seeing what they've done. This is one person. There could be hundreds of people here already who share these views and have expressed them in the past. I want to know how the system works and how it's going to be reformed following this very public case.
Nigel?
Well, first of all, Robert Jenrick was in the Home Office. I don't know if he was there at this particular time when all this went through. The buck stops with the minister, whoever the minister was, when this man was given British citizenship. But it goes back to the fact that he was given British citizenship. We don't know whether or not they took those.
But if the buck stops with that minister, why does the buck not stop with the current Home Secretary?
Well, because at this point we've given him British citizenship.
We can take it away. He's a dual national.
We could take it away. But we come back to the problem of we saw this man as a freedom fighter, and as a freedom fighter we thought he was jailed unjustly. We put pressure on President Sisi to grant him a pardon. That happened. Having got a pardon, he comes here.
Yeah. I don't mind campaigning for imprisonment of political activists in foreign countries. We should do that as part of our values. However, we shouldn't then bring them to our country. We should be making a point about, we'll help campaigns get this man released, but we're not going to bring him here. The Democrats in America campaigned for this bloke as well, by the way. They didn't give him a passport. I don't know. Oh, by the way, the front page on the Mail on Sunday, Prince William is facing angry backlash over his security zone around his new home. Sunday Express, Kemi Badenoch talking about her, obviously, Rachel keeping her job just to protect Starmer. That's all coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We'll see a mixed bag of weather across the UK over the next few days. Some sunshine, but equally thicker bits of cloud giving some patchy rain and some frost and fog in places during the overnight period as well. High pressure centred towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Fairly tightly packed isobars indicating quite brisk winds, and those winds are coming in from a chilly east to northerly direction. Certainly a lot of cloud coming in on that easterly flow during the overnight period as well. Some cloud breaks out towards the west of Wales, across the far southwest of England, but the best of the overnight breaks are likely across parts of Scotland. Here turning quite frosty, the blue colours there indicating a widespread frost. Some fog patches in places as well, but with the cloud down towards the south and across eastern spots, and with that breeze too, mostly frost-free here. So as we go into Sunday then, we get off to quite a bright start across Scotland once the fog and frost lifts, but that fog could take time to clear in places. Certainly a very cold start, say temperatures below freezing in places here. More in the way of cloud across Northern Ireland, some bright spells. And across England and Wales, it's a fairly cloudy start to Sunday as well. The best of the early brightness across West Wales and the far southwest of England, but elsewhere with a cloud around and a bit of a breeze too. It's mostly frost-free across England and Wales. Going through the rest of the day on Sunday, once that fog and frost clears from Scotland, plenty of sunshine here, some brightness out across other western spots at times, but generally speaking, it will be quite a cloudy day, especially across England and Wales, mostly dry, and later in the day we'll start to see some clearer weather moving in across the far southeast as well. Temperatures close to where they should be for the time of year at about 6 to 8 Celsius, still quite breezy in the south, taking the edge off of those values, and a bit cooler, especially if any fog does linger across parts of Scotland. Monday gets off to a clearer start, so we'll see more in the way of frost around, some fog patches in places. That should all gradually lift to leave some sunshine in places, but notice a band of cloud with patchy rain, bit of hill sleet there moving south across parts of Scotland. And that takes us into a fairly settled start to the next week. Some sunshine at times, but equally quite chilly still, with some night frost and fog in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Coming up.
It is an absolute disgrace. It tells you everything you need to know about this Labour government. I think this man's citizenship should be revoked, and he should be made to live in Egypt or, frankly, anywhere else in the world other than the UK.
Now, there's been a furious backlash